This week, the Marda Justice Film Festival is underway here in Calgary. Being presented are some of the world's best documentaries, touching on issues the festival believes are important to us as individuals, Canadians, global citizens, and human beings. The selection of influential documentaries from across the globe are being shown free of charge at a number of venues around Calgary for the duration of the 6-day festival. Films shown were chosen from a pool of more than 1,000 filmmakers from over 100 countries and include a live discussion with the filmmaker or experts on the film's topic. Today we explore the motivations behind the Marda Justice Film Festival and the role these films play in our understanding of the world just outside as well as far beyond our own backyard. Hey folks, thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Chorney. This is Calgary Now, and tonight I'm joined by, well, a couple gentlemen from the Marda Justice Film Festival. Alfred Cho, thanks for being here, sir, as well as Richard Abma. Guys, thanks for taking the time. I know today's kind of the opening day for the film festival, which must be an exciting time. I want to talk all about it. First, though, Alfred, maybe I'll start with you. Tell me a bit about your role at the Justice Film Fest.
Sure. I'm a director at the Marda Justice Film Festival, and I also do a lot of work with the programming side. So just helping to screen movies or documentaries and making sure that they're up to par artistically and yeah, it's just that they're good films.
You watch a lot of film, I imagine.
Oh, lots, yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Lots.
Well, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
Yourself, Richard, what's your role?
Also on the board.
Okay.
This year I have the role of president, so I have a fair number of responsibilities.
Yeah,
so it's been challenging but very rewarding. And I'm also on programming with Alfred and a number of other people.
Cool.
So yeah, we view we go through over 1,000 films. So really, from the month of I don't know, late January all the way to May, we are watching a phenomenal number of films and selecting and deselecting. Yeah.
Incredible, guys. Yeah. So tell me about the festival. I mean, why is it important that Calgarians take the time and go check out some of these films?
Well, I think it's if you take even a cursory look at what the film festival is about, you'll see that we don't deal with trivial kinds of issues. We don't deal with silly little stories or something that might just be fun, but they're significant. They're challenging. I think they're the kinds of issues that people around the world experience. There may be a film specifically on something like The Apology is what I'm thinking of right now, which is comfort women in Asian countries like the Philippines and Korea, China, that were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese forces during World War II. So there are still women today who have a grievance against the Japanese government. Mm-hmm. So really it brings to light the kinds of issue that people in many parts of the world would be connecting with, because it has to do with anytime there is a war or a conflict, and then there is this exploitation that is happening and this kind of injustice that is happening, what is considered to be a reasonable response on the part of a civilized democratic state after the war is over? Do you pretend it didn't happen? Do you not rewrite your textbooks so your children learn about it in high school?
Sure.
And this is where Japan, I think, is being challenged by these women who are still at the age of 80-something, challenging these
Good for them,
governments.
first and foremost.
Yeah. So we deal with these kinds of issues. They're big. They're important.
Big issues, heavy issues.
Yes.
So Alfred, was that part of your motivation for getting involved to begin with? I mean, some of these issues, these humanitarian issues, I know you guys touch on the environment. Is there a bit of personal motivation behind some of your selections?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Calgary's amazing. We have a plethora of film festivals across the city. Yeah. But we're really the only one that deals with these social issues through documentaries. And so for me, choosing which festival to go to when I first got involved was it was clear that this was one that I wanted to go to, because at the end of the day, once I saw one of these documentaries and listened to some of the speakers that came, a lot of times it was just the directors, I would take something away with me. I would think of saying to myself, what can I do now that I've learned about this issue? And to me, that makes a huge difference. It's not just pure entertainment. And so that was really what drew me in the first place, and I love it.
Substance is the key word. We're going to jump to our rant pack, folks, and see what, I think it's either Adam or Julie has to say tonight, or could be wrong. Either way, check in with the rant pack.
The movie I'm talking about today is Good Business, and the reason why I'm so excited to see that at the Marda Justice Film Festival is because it talks about the importance of businesses focusing on doing good rather than focusing on the bottom line. This particular documentary talks about a major retailer in South Africa during the age of apartheid and how they chose to go against societal norms and do what was right by hiring black people, by making the community more inclusive, even against death threats and boycotts of their business. And it made me question why more businesses don't follow that motto today. Luckily, there's many businesses such as, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. They started the Giving Pledge in 2010, and they vowed to give at least 50 to 99% of their net worth to make the world a better place. So there's many companies and many businesses that are doing that now. There's over 150 of the world's wealthiest people contributing that much money to make the world a better place. And I question, why can't we do more of that in Calgary? It seems like we need to take a look at what the world is doing and how we can make it a better place. So let's do it, Calgary.
Okay, so what's incredible about the Marda Justice Film Festival, of course, is that it's free of charge for people to go and watch these films. How is that possible? How is this for you? You must have some amazing sponsors.
Well, can we just, I'd like to answer another question related to that.
Sure.
And that, why did we decide to make it a free film festival? So we felt that sometimes film festivals charge admission fees, and sometimes if you want to go to quite a few films, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So one of the things we wanted to make sure happened was that nobody, because of costs, are going to be kept from seeing the films. So if there are issues around poverty, we want people who are poor to be able to come. If there's issues around disabilities, and if those people with disabilities may not have as many resources, they should be able to come. So what we did is, quite early on, we started to knock on some doors and make some phone calls and emails and visit people and ask if they would support us. And we've had a few sponsors from year one who are still our sponsors now.
And you guys have been at it since 06, right?
Yeah, 11 years. This is our 11th annual. Yep. And some of those sponsors, they have, over the course of the years, decided, oh, we're sponsoring this much, oh, I'm going to double it for next year. And so we have kind of, as we've grown, we've needed more resources, and they have been good in terms of giving more resources. So
incredible.
I don't know, anything else you want to say about sponsors?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, again, just the nature of our film festival being focused on documentaries that have profound effects on Calgarians and people around the world, that in and of itself draws people to help volunteer. So we have a huge volunteer group that gives up a lot of their time to help us make sure that this festival runs smoothly.
Could this festival happen in another city? Is there something unique about Calgary, you think, that really ties everything together to allow it to happen?
Well,
besides the fun, obviously a lot of money's here. I mean, a lot of people, even during tough times, are pretty generous, it sounds like. But volunteer-wise, I mean, are you amazed at the amount of people that come up?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, you take a look at what happened during the floods in just a couple of years ago, and the number of people that showed up at McMahon Stadium to volunteer. I mean, that's the kind of spirit that we have in this city, right? Like, people want to make a difference in the world that they live in, and Calgary has a lot to offer, and a lot of that comes from the people. And so, yeah, I'm a little surprised at just how many people have come and helped us in the various capacities that we need help in, but at the same time not, because Calgary's a pretty awesome city.
I like that. Good films do good. It's kind of the mantra of the Marda Justice Film Festival. Richard, maybe I'll start with you. What does that mean to you personally?
Well, first of all, as Alfred has said earlier, we go through and examine in our programming committee, look at over 1,000 films, and we look for the best, the highest quality that deal with substantial issues, not trivial issues. So they're good films. They're the production value, the way in which they are put together is of a really high caliber.
High standard,
Yes, high standard. But then also they are catalysts for us to consider ways in which we can right whatever is the wrong that may be uncovered in that particular film. So, you know, we have another excellent film coming up called Guardians of Eternity, where the Dene in the north are sitting there with, I don't know how many, 246,000 tons of arsenic that a gold mine has left behind. You know, so the film is helping us to know that there are some problems in the north, just because we don't know about it because of the maybe mainstream media, but this film does inform us. So it allows us and it challenges us to do something so that we can right that wrong, right? So we want to do good in the face of that injustice or that perhaps corporate irresponsibility, if indeed that is what is going on, or maybe somebody's playing by the rules, but the rules aren't tight enough, and maybe we need to see some changes to the environmental regulations that govern the way mining companies operate in the north. So, you know, those kinds of things are catalysts for us to then get involved with government, with corporations or other entities to right whatever is the wrong that exists.
Almost as a movement. It would say.
Yes, agents of change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So Alfred, then, should I expect, I guess, the bulk of the films would be issues that sort of fly under that mainstream media radar, as Richard had touched on?
Again, I hate to do this, but yes and no.
Okay.
So when we're in the programming committee, we are very cognizant of the issues that we touch on, not only for the current year, but in prior years. So if we have a couple of films that deal with a certain issue, for example, the mining up in the north, and we have a couple of films like that, and we get another one that's really good, we may shy away from it just from the fact that we've already had a lot of exposure to it.
Sure.
So we try to make sure that the topics that we touch on are definitely broad and are, relatively speaking, unbiased, so that people can make their own decisions based on a good documentary.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, guys. It makes a lot of sense. Folks, we're going to jump to another rant pack break and check in with Amy. Stay with us.
So this documentary called Call Me Dad is about a group of men who've come together to really look at men's roles in society, and specifically how being a father relates to women's roles and their children's roles. And it looks at a group of men who've come together to really try to dissect that and examine where there are restrictive patterns in the way men have been socialized, and how to break out of those patterns so that they can empower their wives and children and move past that. I think it's an awesome movie because it really examines something that we don't talk about. We often talk about women's roles, we talk about abuse, but we don't talk about how it's systemic and how men are socialized to be these power figures and authoritarians. And it's really hard to reconcile that identity and still be that caring person for each individual in their family.
Now, what makes the Marda Loop Justice Film Festival, also unique is that following each presentation, each screening, you've got either the filmmaker themselves or, in many cases, an expert who's able to speak to the subject matter at hand that was, of course, displayed in that film. To me, this sounds like the festival, in a nutshell, is more about education than it is entertainment as a whole. Is that probably fair to say? Do you think, Alfred?
Yeah. We want to do more than just entertain people. I mean, there's enough in the world that will allow people to be entertained, but we really want people to think and to relate it to themselves. Because a lot of these issues that we have, like, for example, Call Me Dad, which deals with spousal abuse and family abuse from the men's perspective. It takes place in Australia, but it's something that can be definitely related to for Calgarians, and it's something that people can ask themselves on: how are they doing themselves? What can they do differently? How can they help? How can they change this culture, this kind of mindset? And it makes people look at themselves and say, what can we do better, right? And that's, at the end of the day, what we want, is for people to walk away and have something to take away with them.
Broaden the conversation, sort of spread ideas.
Exactly, break that taboo, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really the main purpose of that conversation leader, and that bit is to let people have the ability to learn a little bit more and to ask questions.
So then, Richard, where do these experts come from? Are they local university professors, business leaders, all walks of life? I mean, where do you find these people?
This is one of the biggest tasks that we have.
I would imagine.
Yeah, this to find the films is great, but then often to find a really suitable conversation leader, expert, to speak to that, we sometimes have to go far afield. Other times they are local. Occasionally we have somebody that's involved in the actual production of the film. So France Benoit, who made, which is the film that she made.
Yeah, reference to Chi-Chi. That seems fair. I would do the same thing.
Oh, she did Gardens of Eternity.
Okay.
So she's a filmmaker. So she's going to be coming to the speak after that film. But so what we do is we spend a lot of time paying attention to who is in our community, who is in Alberta and who's in Canada, or even Western United States. And then sometimes we need to talk to people who are experts in the field.
Yeah.
So we have to get to know people, let's say at the University of Calgary or Mount Royal. Could you lead us to? Could you help us with? And send us to the right people? So, and sometimes we have real difficulty finding an expert because of the nature of the subject matter. Other times we just have to ask and ask and ask until somebody that is suitable ends up coming through.
Yeah.
So I remember about 4 years ago we had a film on the North Koreans who are fleeing over the border into China, but then they're smuggled out of China, right? And so, well, who can speak about North Korean refugees? Really, how many North Korean refugees are there? So
probably only a North Korean refugee, I would think.
Yeah, well, there is one organization in Toronto,
okay.
And so we asked this gentleman to come, and so we footed his bill to fly here and put him up while he was here, and so sometimes we have to do that kind of thing.
It's interesting though, because you're clearly putting in a huge effort to ensure that the conversation following these documentaries is one of substance and understanding, and is going to spread that message.
Yeah, and we just had one of the Just Reels, like when we don't have the festival, we have 4 viewings, screenings in January, March, May, and September.
Okay.
So the one we just had in September was, we had the former head of the National Energy Board speaking about pipelines issues, because the film was on pipelines and the people of Quebec and their opposition to the Canada East pipeline.
There's a lot of it,
so you know, how much more relevant to Albertans could a film be than something like that, right?
Certainly.
So in that case, he happened to he's chosen to live in Calgary in his retirement, so he was available. So that was wonderful for us.
Lucked out there.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. We're almost out of time, guys. Real quick, the 4 venues around the city that these films can be viewed are what?
Well, the afternoon films are at the Globe Theatre.
Okay.
And so those are relatively short films, and they do not have the conversation afterwards, so that people can get back to work and not have to worry about that sort of thing.
Good angle, makes sense, sure.
Yeah, the other venue is in the evenings. One is happening right now. Angry Anouk is being shown right now at the Dutton Theatre in the downtown Calgary Public Library.
Okay, yeah.
And then the most of the films Friday, Saturday, Sunday are shown at River Park Church.
All right.
And then Amedia. And that is what, 12th Ave and 3rd Street, somewhere around there? Amedia.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's a very small venue, and this is our first time there. So it's only about 50 seats or so.
Intimate occasion. Cool.
Yes.
Guys, thanks very much. I'm actually pretty excited. We've got the speaker from the movie Bugs that is showing during the festival is going to be joining us in the next segment here, and I may have a little bug snack or two. Guys, thanks very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin, for having us. That's great.
Folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.